It's a special edition of our first NBC update here at sportsnola.com. Lenny Vangilder, Ken Trahan with you. Breaking news out of New Orleans and New York today. The penalties in the Bounty investigation handed down by the league, and Ken, they were severe. Sean Payton gets a 1-year suspension without pay. That's not games. That is a calendar year. Mickey Loomis suspended for 8 games. Joe Vitt suspended for 6 games. Greg Williams gets suspended indefinitely. Of course, he's now with the St. Louis Rams. The club gets a $500,000 fine and loses 2 second-round draft picks. Your initial reactions on just the extent of the damage, if you will, from these suspensions and other punishments?
Well, I think I could simply use the one word that Sean Payton used: stunned. I'm surprised that they were this severe. And yet, on the other hand, maybe we should have had more of an inkling that something like this would be coming because of the confluence of circumstances that existed over the past 3 years, from Vicodin to Media Day at the Super Bowl, and then, of course, leading to BountyGate, and apparently people either being misled to or lied to, at least from the perspective of the investigators, which made things worse. So I guess when you add all of that up, maybe you can understand this, but I'm still shocked that they have these penalties and that the head coach is suspended for a solid year, in particular when you compare it to Bill Belichick and Spygate. And they're two totally different things. Let me make that very clear. But each one, at least in the minds of investigators, was geared at trying to gain a competitive advantage, either by cheating to find out what other teams were doing or by trying to take out key players on opposing teams and apparently trying to take them out based upon what the NFL is saying now. So as a result, I was stunned by it. In retrospect, maybe I shouldn't have been.
Yeah, some of the interesting things that came out of today's release from the NFL is, first of all, there was a cover-up that went on, and Sean Payton was at the center of that cover-up trying to protect this information, meeting with his coaches before these meetings are going to take place, and then the other thing was this continued into this year. Aaron Rodgers, Cam Newton named as specifically players who were targeted as part of these bounties. So this is not something that just happened in 2009. It continued through this past season, and the fact that you had a chance to deal with this maybe 2 years ago and get some penalties, but yet that was not the case. Now the fact that it continued on has only made it worse.
And I think that's a large part of this. I think if they would have come clean early on, I fully suspect that the penalties would have been less than they were. How much less? I can't answer that. But I think what really rankled the league and its investigators was the fact that they saw a situation where they felt deceived, that they gave them a chance to tell the truth, and from their perspective, that did not happen. And I do not think that sits well with them. And as we've seen, as we've stated all along with Roger Goodell, he will rule with an iron fist. He has autonomy, he has the support of the owners, and he has handled these situations consistently.
You mentioned the owners. Now, we've seen what the NFL has done. Put your owner's hat on for a second. You're Tom Benson. How are you dealing with this out on Airline Drive?
Clearly, he had to know what was about to come. They went and met with him, he and Sean Payton, very recently. And without a doubt, by that time, Lenny, they had to know how serious this was going to be. Maybe they didn't think it was going to be a full year for the head coach, but I think all the others probably fell into place, and they knew the coach was going to be suspended. Therefore, if you're Tom Benson, you had to have some sort of contingency plan working or already in place. So my guess is that that is the case. And with that being the case, Kai Harley absorbs a bigger role with Mickey Loomis being absent for a while. And from a coaching perspective, you got to take a look at Steve Spagnuolo, who has head coaching experience, who just came in. But you also have to keep in mind Pete Carmichael, who served as interim coach last year when Sean Payton was gone. Joe Vitt, who was the assistant head coach, he's suspended as well. Maybe Aaron Cromer figures into the mix. Listen, my best guess is Spagnuolo becomes the guy, Carmichael runs the offense, and they're kind of co-head coaches. It would seem to make sense. Of course, they've got to dampen this blow by getting Drew Brees signed now.
One interesting thing, the one news we've heard out of Saints camp in the first couple of hours since the announcement is the Saints signed Broderick Bunkley to a 5-year, $25 million deal. So they've got a nose tackle, presumably to replace Rodgers and also Franklin. So you'll see a new nose tackle there. Nothing yet on this, which leads you to believe, one, they were surprised by the extent of it, but secondly, they're perhaps still trying to borrow a term from the release, get their ducks in a row on exactly what's going to come out.
Yeah, I think so, and I think Bunkley signing clearly shows that they're going to move forward and they're still going to be a good football team. To try to ease the concern of very concerned fans who should be concerned, they're still going to be a very good football team. I do expect Drew Brees will sign, will be here, will play. He really doesn't have another option. Some speculate that maybe his leverage just improved. I don't know that that's accurate either, because if he decides not to play for the tag, then they can tag him again next year. He's still their property. So I don't know that he has anywhere to go. I think the Saints offer him the $20 million and see if he takes it. And I think he'll take something around that, if not slightly more, with Tom Condon having Peyton Manning in place. So they'll be a good team. The question is how well they do on the field and what that means moving forward regarding Sean Payton at all.
A lot of moving parts in this whole thing. Just coming out here Wednesday afternoon that the Saints have been hammered, basically, by the NFL with penalties. Stay with us at sportsnola.com. A lot more, both what's officially coming out from the league, from the Saints, as well as a lot of opinion on what exactly has happened here on this Wednesday in the National Football League and the New Orleans Saints. Stay with us.